Welcome everybody to our third episode of our Overland build with our Toyota Sequoia. As you can see, the front seats are taken out, and today we're going to be installing the carpet. And this was purchased on eBay through Auto Custom Carpets Incorporation. I think the price was around $300 to $350 of what I spent. But you can see it's molded, but it is not cut out. So also, it had some insulation in here, so it looks like it's got a bunch of white fuzzies that I'll end up vacuuming out as well. We've got our insulation pads. Now, this carpet kit is for the full Sequoia, all the way to the back. So, I'm not going to be using the back half, obviously, because I've got the water tank in there with water and all my other stuff right now. So, front seats are out, vacuumed out. We're going to put in the insulation. We're going to lay the carpet down. We're going to make our cuts, center console, all that good stuff. And then I'm gonna also have the carpet stop. It's gonna come around where it bolts in to hold it down, but it's gonna stop up here because I plan on having my Husky liners. And I've already done one side as an example. I'm gonna have a hole here, and this is where the drain holes are that you saw unplugged. So it'll catch water really nicely. This side has been working perfect with a test sample. I'll clean this one up so it's more of a square, and I'll make these fit proper once I have everything in. So today is gonna be a very interesting day. Probably multiple cuts because you wanna cut shorter than you anticipate, because you could always cut more, but you can't take back cuts. So we can tell this is the front where your driver foot goes. So I'm only going to probably be using up to about here. The rest of it would go, and if you were redoing the back hatch and you cut this hole out, they gave you an extra square to redo your cardboard panel that normally goes there. So wish me luck. I'm definitely going to start by cutting this part off here, so that way I can fit it in, because I know for sure I do not need this back half where the seat goes. So yeah, let's start with that. Okay, so this back half I'm definitely not going to be using. Oh, this is not easy to cut. There we go. This side, we're not using. So, the insulation mats, front ones look really good. These ones I'm gonna trim, so at least I'm getting some insulation here. These I am not putting in because they're just gonna get filled with water. Okay, so with some scissors, I'm going to make my cut. Yeah, these works a little better with some scissors. Just now. Alright, so say goodbye to that piece. And we're gonna leave those open so water can drain right on in. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Alright. Let's try to get this carpet in here somewhat so I can see roughly where I'm cutting, how I'm cutting, and what I'm doing. So definitely the centerpiece, but I want to make sure it's the actual center. So I'm stretching it out on both sides, and so I'm gonna climb in. And being blind to most of this, I'm gonna start by cutting what I think is the dead center, so there's some wiggle room to try and open the carpet up and figure out exactly where I need to make more cuts. So this is roughly the center. So here's definitely where it's gonna stop. Okay, so I don't want this to move. That's pretty good where that's at. We're gonna do a little bit first. Time. So I do want this tucked in here. Now, I am gonna wait to continue cutting there until I get that side situated. So right now you can see I stopped right there. The center console is going to sit on top of this, which will help for a little vibration dampening. So now we have a vent over here, so let's move the camera. So we have a vent here that we've got to clear. So right now I currently have the carpet tucking up and over, but I'm going to want it to, we're going to do a straight cut first and then see what I need to modify from there. Because always better to cut twice than to mess it up and not get what you want. Okay, so from here, I want it to go, I can almost tuck it underneath it, huh? Just like that. That's actually not a bad idea. Look at that. That came out nice. Now all this extra carpet in here, I have to trim this to fit around those guys. And then this almost fits perfect over here. All right, that looks good. That looks really good. I just need a little bit more. There we go, it tucks right on up and in. Tucks right on up and in. Now the only thing I have to really address is the little bolts over here. That looks great. So now to keep things from moving, we're gonna start putting things in place. So we're gonna put this panel in. And now the fun part is here, is I want the carpet tucked in, but I also, there, that looks perfect there. Got our hole there. That looks really, really good. Definitely needs a vacuum, but I'm super pleased with this side. Gonna make the holes here, nice little squares, little cutout for the wire, and then a channel for the air, because I still want air circulating to help evaporate anything that goes back here and falls on those husky mats. Okay, so I did have to cut a little bit more to actually go around this to make the driver's side sit flush. Now, I'm gonna do the same method I did on the passenger side and cut across, because when I put the center console on, this is all going to tuck right on in and not have any issues. So, using that same method, we're gonna cut across just like so. All right, so keeping with the same method, there's no vent on this side from what it looks like. Actually, I stand corrected. Yes, there is. Right here and here, so it's a little different in orientation. So, with how it currently is, that's okay, that's okay. This looks really funky in there, because the last thing you want to do is impede your brake pedal. So it looks like I am going to have to trim here and go across. That looks really good there, and nothing is being impeded. I am going to trim a little bit more here, so that way I'm not disrupting the vent by any chance, or with hot air, nothing's gonna be blown. Okay. This is looking great. I love it. Definitely gonna need a good vacuum afterwards. That's okay. All right, now that looks good. Over here, we want this to tuck in behind. That's gonna be right where that goes, as well as needing to make my incision here for the mount. Kind of far in there. We're gonna tuck that behind to hold it in place. That looks great. So let's get this panel on now. So this is definitely speeding up the more that I'm doing this. I don't think I would try this without a molded carpet. That would be some very, very interesting effort and work. All right, that is in. Just like that, we've got a little bubble. Let's massage that out and trim the edges as I need fit, but I'm very pleased with that. Let's put the cap back on here. All right, so we are trimming the back. I've done the passenger side and I've stopped there so far, so we're gonna continue this side. And the way that I did this, again, you may be using the whole thing, but if you're like me, you want to utilize what you can. It helps to take out the molding that you're using to hold it in. And now, what I'm doing is cutting like that. And now I can cut right across. And again, I'm not too worried on how this looks because again, I'm gonna have the husky mat covering it. The main thing is making sure there is no water getting in here. And I'm actually purposely going around that like I did on the other side. So I'm gonna climb in now and finish these cuts. Turn you, turn you. There we go. All right, so I'm one cut away, and that is getting the wire out on this side. Woo! Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my one incision to be able to get the wiring out. So first what I'm gonna do is locate where it is. So you're right here in the middle. I honestly could come out here, but the issue with that, then it's gonna stretch the cabling. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a small incision inside, lifting it up, seeing where the actual wire is coming from right here. You can do this with the scissors or with the razor. I'm gonna use the razor. Make sure not to cut your wiring underneath. So, and also don't cut yourself. So what I'm trying to do here is just make a hole. Then I can get in with the scissors. There's a lot more work than just putting in regular carpet. Mainly because of all the extra cutting in the back. And with this guy, I'm actually not making it a hole. I'm making it I'm not making a full-on cutout of a hole. I'm making a slit in it. So that way, when the wires go through, there's not going to be any noise. And it's nice and sleek. So last thing I have to do, we're going to tuck everything in and then get the holes cut out using the same method, but with that idea, we're going to be, ooh, okay. So this is why I wanted to test it. So I need to trim a little bit here on the edge because it's a little too much. Very close here. I'm actually, because of how close it is, we're gonna do it like that. It'll still hold it down, but that just makes life easy for me. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So after an okay vacuum, this is what the setup looks like. So again, as the idea is, the holes will be where the drainage is. So I'll make a hole there, and this one lines up perfectly with that. So that way, any water that does collect in here will actually drain out where it's supposed to, and these lips make it so that way it actually doesn't get onto the carpet. But I do a second vacuum after I get everything in, and then another vacuum when I pull the seats out to put in the new seats. But I'm very pleased with it. We're gonna put the center console in, and I'll be back to you when everything is back in, all the janky seats and everything, and the holes in the back too. So I'm very pleased with this. And then again, I believe experts would probably use glue because I'm noticing some bubbles. We'll see what happens over time with heat. I am planning on getting Husky liners in the front. I got a notification that those won't be ready until March because of COVID. So a lot of things on back order, but hey, I mean, it's making progress. That's all what this is all about. All right, everyone, that is how you install carpeting. Again, the seats are my last thing. I'm just waiting to hopefully mid-February for the new seats to come in, again in neoprene. I could have got them in vinyl or cloth, again, just to reiterate that. So COVID is making things a little bit of the waiting list. One thing to note, when pushing these in and pulling these out, there's little plastic tabs. Well, I think I kind of broke them because it doesn't want to stay. So one little pet peeve there. The passenger side is good, but the driver's side kick panel or door seal, that needs to be replaced now. But thank you for joining me. Next time that you guys join me, I'm going to be showing you how to put a rack in the back of the Sequoia. So to give you a little sneak peek, I am already working on that. So we've got some mounting brackets up top that are going to act as additional support. We're going to be accessing these holes right here and having some cross members and going straight across, and then eventually having some sort of basket up top to put all the things that are making everything a clutter. Again, this could be used easy to remove and then used for camping gear. Same thing, this bottom shelf, what I ended up using was the back of the Tacoma. So I didn't get to show you guys that. So you can see I went ahead and used some riv bolts or riv nuts and bolted those in for this guy and this guy, and it's completely removable. So thank you again so much for watching and following along, and I will see you next time for the really cool rack build.